moving on from the gratitude exercise, and I missed it a little bit, but there's been an interesting side effect from it. And some of us probably inherently or through practice do this better than others. But one of the last things that the 31 Days of Gratitude has done for me is I'm kind of in the habit of waking up and looking for it. It's so easy to fall into all kinds of patterns. And we know that when it comes to how your mind works, brain thinks, you have only so many thoughts that you can control. And maybe your singular focus that you have in the moment, there's so much going on in the background. And so the language we use as we speak to ourselves and others, describe the world around us, is really important, because that language will color and shape all those background processes that's going on in our brain, especially if we're persistent with that language. And sometimes this can be a positive coloring or a negative coloring. But as far as the gratitude exercise, I wake up looking for gratitude. And today I woke up and, the first thing in my mind was like, wow, what do I feel grateful for? Even though, I've sort of said I'm moving on from the gratitude exercise in the contents of, the podcast, the 31 days, it started to reprogram me a little bit. I should say remold me a little bit, because the molding, can go away. You got to remold yourself every once in a while. The molding can go away. But the gratitude exercise has helped remold me a little bit. It's where sometimes I think we just get into these patterns where we wake up and maybe we're always looking for something that's wrong, or we're dreading the next thing. And I've been really fortunate lately, is I'm like excited to wake up. I don't like going to bed because I want to, see what the next day has in store, as important as sleep is. But the gratitude exercise especially, I wake up and the first thing on my mind is, what am I grateful for today? What can I point out that I am grateful for that I don't normally recognize? So we just kicked off a really good morning, which was nice because there were some annoying things that happened yesterday. Been nursing like a lingering back issue from a workout a couple weeks ago, and then just doing other things outside, not being smart with it, pushing it a little too hard. And woke up, back was nagging me, and just got into the day. Stretched a little bit, started doing stuff, went outside. Cold day, beautiful day, sun's out. The trees all look frosted. And, the more I started getting down that mindset, the better and better I felt. Now, I'm not saying like a good mindset, good attitude will cure physical ailments, but it doesn't make them worse. It for sure doesn't make them worse. And this got me thinking about kind of the language we use. Well, before we get to that. And there was also something that conversation I had the other day, just around this concept of, here we're talking about this idea of automatically, kind of molding yourself to just look for that gratitude. What is going on around me that's going well? A long time ago, for some various reason, I made a list in my phone of like things that I just don't like, want to avoid. And and I still do this. I would just leave my phone around, and I think I had left the list open, and a close friend of mine, she had seen it, and she added below it a list of things. She just wrote, list of things I do like. And from her knowledge of me, she just added things on there I do like. And I'll remember this for the rest of my life, because it was such a defining event in terms of how I frame the world around me. And what was so interesting about it is I was able to fill up, and after I saw that, I was able to fill up the list of things I like and focus on those. And when you're focused on the things you like, the things you don't like don't even distract you. But when you're focused on the things you don't like, man, you forget about all the stuff you do. And it seems so simple and so trite, but it was just a little powerful event. And I remember it to this day. And I thought today was just another good example of that. Again, I'm not saying like a good attitude cures everything, but holy shit, does it go a long way. It doesn't hurt it. And a good attitude that's like being that's tuned into reality. I'm not making things up to make myself feel better. I'm actually just digging and looking for what are the actual events, the actual things that go on in my life, the people in my life who I draw strength from, feel good when I'm around, enjoy being around. And so I always thought that was an interesting little thing. Maybe that's something we should add to the gratitude exercise. You take the don't like list and compare it to the like list. And, as you go through your day, and sometimes, like I said, I'm not making things up, but sometimes the like list are small things. Like I just like this one t-shirt, as compared to something bigger. Whereas I like the way that Cassandra takes care of me when something's wrong, or checks in on me when something's wrong. Or I like the consistency of the dogs in the morning. It always sets my day off well. Or I like the fact that I can go into the gym for any class and there's somebody there with a smiling face to greet me and say hi. I just really like this type of pen that I spent weeks searching for on random ass pen blogs to buy and use. It could be something as simple as that, but I do think there's a path ahead, and focusing on the I likes, that path is much smoother, nicer, and more enjoyable than, all right, well, I'm just going to focus on all the things I don't like and think about those and avoid those. No. That'll happen automatically if you focus on what you like. And then you get the bonus of doubling down, being grateful, just feeling generally more positive by focusing on the things you like. Maybe woo-woo, maybe a little weird, but I think there's value in it. And focusing on that next best thing. I was chatting with my mom the other day, and where I grew up, and she still lives, we would always have, like, wintertime was just power outages. It was just a part of life. And it's been pretty cold lately back there. And she texted us and just let us know, hey, power's out. But no worries. She said, I'm at the laundromat. And, I was thinking about this. And then later on, she went home after being at the laundromat doing the laundry. And I have really fond memories of this as a kid. Power would go out and we'd go do something. Maybe sometimes it was, clearing out the driveway because it was a big snowstorm. But, we'd go to the laundromat. We'd go grocery shopping. We'd go do that next best thing. And anyway, power went out. She went to the laundromat. Later in the day, she gets back home, says, hey, went to the laundromat, laundry's done, and the power's back on. Now, some of this is just happenstance. But it really made me, and I joked, and I texted back, and I said, hey, when in doubt, go to the laundromat. And we laughed. And what this really made me think of is this concept of, like, do something else. I'm having this massive roadblock, this thing I can't control. I'm going to go do something else for the time being. And I'm going to keep moving forward. And that's always just a really nice reminder. And there's so many places in life when it shows up. And if anybody out there has ever dealt with, like, long-term power outages, in the winter especially, it sucks. There's always little surprises along the way. The first night in the house, cuddled up. If you have a fireplace near the fire, you got candles going, like that kind of stuff. There's some real romance and novelty to it. But there are definitely a lot of challenges to it too. But, if you're fortunate enough to be able to stop and make a decision of what else can I do, there's a very clear, bright path forward. And I just thought, as simple as this was, it was such a good reminder of go do something else. So there it is. Good attitudes don't cure everything, but they don't hurt. And if you have the opportunity and you can pause for a second and think, go do something else. And then come back and check in on the thing that's frustrating you or that's the obstacle and see what happens next. You can't just ignore it forever. You got to come check in, but you do have a moment. Go do something else. And then the last thing was, returning to the concept of, the back being annoying, that kind of stuff. Dealing with some little, I don't even want to call them injuries, just nagging physical things. It's just the language we use, to talk about this stuff. And a buddy of mine he said, hey, you threw your back out, you old geezer. And I laughed, and coming from him, it's perfect. But I was also thinking about how many times I hear people say things like, oh, I can't do X because I'm tired. I can't do Y because I'm getting older. I can't do Z because I'm too thirsty, whatever it is, doesn't matter. But to me, the getting older one stuck out. I know that I'm getting older. I know when I don't sleep well, I'm tired. But man, oh man, when you start to let that language constantly creep in, and it's not ignorance, but I try so hard not to say that kind of stuff to myself. Oh, well, back was tight. Heard it last week just because I'm getting older. And the reason I try not to use language like that, because one, I think it's an excuse. It's an excuse not to double down and take care of it better. And I also think not only is it an excuse to take care of it better, like you pass all the power to that thing. I pass all the power to the age. And I give up all my agency in terms of like responsibility of how I got there, responsibility of being able and capability of being able to fix it. I try so hard not to use language like that. And I think some people want to be like these hyper realists, because here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying ignore the problem. It's sort of like you're outside in the cold and it's really cold. And you're just telling yourself, well, it's not cold. It's not cold. It's not cold. Nature's probably going to win in this scenario. But I think you have a couple options here. There's some language here that really matters. Well, you can keep saying it's not cold. And I think at some point, maybe not. Maybe I'm just mentally weak. At some point, you're going to break. You could also say something like, I can't be warm. Well, that's not true either. And there's this middle path of, okay, it is cold. What can I do to mitigate that? Because that gives me something else. That's the something else. That gives me another thing to do. I can walk faster. I can jog. I can be prepared when I go outside in that cold. Same thing with the back or the physical stuff. If you just sit there and you go, well, you're getting older, that causes you to turn away from like, well, what can I do to take care of it better? So, the excuse is bad because it turns you away from taking care of it. It's also bad because it gives up the agency. And that becomes the only focus. And I think that's such a bummer. Like I said, I try really hard not to use language like that. And I think all of us can sit here, you're sitting there thinking like, hey, here is this thing that I constantly find myself saying. I think the sleep one is a big, I didn't sleep well last night. Yeah, okay. Welcome to being an adult. For millions of reasons, we don't do that. But if that becomes your day, oh, I didn't sleep well last night. Oh, what's going on? I didn't sleep well last night. Oh, and it's like everyone just wants to be comfortable with your uncomfortable. So they're like, it's okay. It's okay. It's like, well, all right, you didn't sleep well. Heard that. Let's grieve it for a moment and then let's move on. We don't want to ruminate on it. What can we do to help? What can you do to move past that didn't sleep well? Well, you didn't sleep well and you're fucking awake now. So you got to do something else. You can't just sit here and keep wishing you had slept more. So there you go. Do something else. Good attitudes don't hurt. And be careful with that language you use to describe both the positive and the negative, the successes and the obstacles in your life. So grateful for the mindset change that the gratitude exercise has passed along to me. So more tomorrow. Maybe toward the end of the week, we're going to kick off the little next exercise. It won't be a daily, I'm thinking once or twice a week. It's a little bit of a heavier one around accountability, and I've been wanting to test this out, so I'm cool. I'm excited to share it, and then I'm excited to, just see how it resonates with you. So more tomorrow. Have a great day.